Last question. Did you ever get to interview Hunter Biden?
We did not interview him.
Thank you. I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes Ms. Ocasio-Cortez for 5 minutes plus the 2.5 minute that we went over.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler. And I want to thank you both for appearing before us today. I understand that this is not easy. And it is very important that both of you are respected during the course of this hearing. Mr. Ziegler, in your deposition to the Ways and Means Committee, I believe you said that that you began this investigation in 2018, correct?
That is correct.
And so some of the events that you discuss in your deposition took place 2, 3, 4 years ago, correct? Over the last several years.
Yeah, that would be correct.
In your deposition in front of the Ways and Means Committee and in your testimony before us today, you have relayed your memory of events that occurred over the course of a nearly 5-year investigation. Mr. Ziegler, when you testified before the Ways and Means Committee, you also testified that you were told that it was then Attorney General William Barr who made the decision to merge the D.C. and Delaware Hunter Biden investigations, correct?
I did testify to that, correct.
And a few weeks after that testimony, your attorney wrote in a letter to Congress, I quote, Mr. Ziegler is confident he was told by his supervisor that the merging of the cases was at the direction of an official at the Department of Justice. However, on further reflection, Mr. Ziegler cannot definitively state that his then supervisor said that the Department of Justice official directing the merger of the cases was Attorney General Barr, correct?
That is correct, and I can tell you that I actually refreshed my memory from looking at my emails, and there was an email that I found from my supervisor at that time that stated what had happened. And I can turn that over to the House Ways and Means Committee at some point.
And in that updated email, does it include Attorney General Barr or not?
So I can't speak to the contents of that email, but...
No problem. I think in light of the correction, and truly in good faith, these things happen all the time, right? The recollection of these investigations require an extraordinary amount of detail, and the charges of what is being brought forward today are extremely serious, which require a high threshold of evidence, including investigations and depositions. But I hope you'd agree that even the best memory can be fallible at times, and that is the widely understood reality in our justice system. Mr. Shapley, from your testimony today, I think you would agree that it is important that criminal investigations be conducted fairly and free from political influence. That's why we're here today, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Now, as you stated, and as was kind of discussed with Mr. Khan and with others, there are often disagreements. It seems as though within some of the transcribed interviews that we read, it says, yes, about 90% of the time, there is this IRS reviewing attorneys disagree with the charging decisions of the agents in the group, correct?
That was part of the testimony, not all of it.
In some of your comments, you've also noted that you've made reference to a special counsel in this situation. But I believe what there might be a reference to here is the question of a special attorney, not a special counsel, correct?
So if you're speaking about the October 7th, 2022 email that I documented contemporaneously on that day, that's why I documented it on that day, so that 9 months later, I'm not trying to recall a specific word. And so it says special counsel authority. That's what he said that day. That's what a senior executive IRS corroborated when he responded to my email as well.
And I do think that distinction is important because in this letter to Chairman Jordan, the issue at hand seems to be a special attorney, not a special counsel, which are two distinct, different legal authorities. And there also may be some confusion, I think, with respect to that as well. Which brings me to the point of political influence. Where there actually is a set of breadcrumbs, however, is in a set of tweets and letters sent from former President Trump to several chairs, to the chair of the House Judiciary Committee that we see here. In fact, according to New York Times article, which I'd like to present to the record today, President Trump's attorney wrote to the Judiciary Committee chairman urging him to investigate what he called, quote, a rogue local district attorney. And after that New York DA convened a grand jury that ultimately indicted Donald Trump, Chairman Jordan complied with that letter. Shortly after President Trump's attorney sent that letter to the committee, which is highly unusual, a very highly unusual act. And in fact, after that, on March 20th, Chairman Jordan, together with the Committee on House Administration, Chairman Brian Steele, as well as the chairman of this committee, wrote to District Attorney Bragg and then demanded a sweeping series of documents, including communications between the DA's office and the Department of Justice, also highly unusual. In fact, on his Truth Social account later on, Donald Trump claimed that the U.S. attorney investigating Hunter Biden, a U.S. attorney, by the way, that Donald Trump appointed, was, quote, a coward. And then in that, he then urged that maybe the presiding judge will have the courage and intellect to break up this, quote, cesspool of crime. Curiously, just a few days after this tweet, the chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Jason Smith, sent a letter to U.S. Attorney David Weiss and Attorney General Merrick Garland, who are implicated in this hearing, explicitly asking them to place the whistleblower testimony from the committee's depositions into the court record, which were addressed during the chairman's opening statements, before Hunter Biden's plea hearing at the end of the month. And as you can see right here, Chairman Smith explicitly said, and I quote, entering this information into the formal record. Additionally, those two chairmen waived onto this hearing today. Highly unusual.
Will the gentlelady yield?
And one moment. And when we talk about political influence, we are not here today, unfortunately, because the facts have brought us here. We are here today because Donald Trump is exerting an influence campaign in Congress when he is no longer president of the United States. In addition to that, if we want to talk about charges that have been dismissed, and if we do want to follow the evidence, perhaps we should discuss Ivanka Trump's investigation who was close to being charged with felony fraud after Donald Trump's personal attorney provided political contributions to the local DA. Those charges were dismissed, and ultimately we saw that DA Vance, President Trump's attorney, provided over $50,000 in political contributions after the case was dismissed. So when we talk about political contributions, I would hope, if we are following the evidence, that we are willing, that this committee, if this committee is going to go there, that they be willing to open investigations into the dismissal of charges against Ivanka Trump. And, by the way, if the gentlelady from Georgia wanted to follow evidence, we should also take a look at, hypothetically, a case where sex trafficking charges against a 17-year-old girl potentially...
The gentlelady's time's expired.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Gosar of Arizona for 5 minutes.
Hi, xin chào tất cả các bạn. Rất vui vì được gặp lại các bạn trong video hôm nay. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng nhau tô màu về bức tranh búp bê công chúa. Mời các bạn hãy cùng đón xem video của mình nhé.